There's been some really fascinating movie mysteries over the years, questions that keep audiences full of wonder. There's the contents of the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, the story of how the Joker got his scars in The Dark Knight, or how much money did Michael Jordan really have riding on the game against the Monstars in Space Jam. However, in my opinion, the most haunting of all questions is an obvious one. What the heck is the deal with the toys in Toy Story? We all know and love the Toy Story movies, but have you ever stopped to think about the actual logistics of how it all works? Of course you haven't. Otherwise, you'd be locked away in an insane asylum, screaming at the top of your lungs into the abyss of sound-absorbing pillowed walls. Or maybe you have thought of it and it's just not that big of a deal. Regardless, I've got some questions. Now, it's safe to assume that we, the audience, are expected to suspend a bit of belief in order to believe that the toys even come to life in the first place. But come on, Pixar, it at least has to make sense. A plastic spork? That's what you're gonna give us? Now I have to try and fall asleep with that in mind? So, how exactly does sentience work then?
What is my purpose?
You pass butter.
Oh my god.
We know that the toys come to life when the humans aren't around, but how does that happen? Are they actually alive? Is it a dream? Or is it the imagination of a child? Were they struck by magic lightning or something? The whole concept is completely and utterly mind-boggling, and while it may just be a movie for children about talking toys, I demand answers. In order to get to the bottom of how Toy Story works, we'll have to start by looking at the larger Pixar theory as a whole. I'm sure there's a metaphor to be made here about looking at the forest in order to focus on a tree or something, but I'm just not smart enough to make it. We've already done a video explaining the Pixar theory in a bit more detail, which you can take a gander at over here. https://youtu.be/ well, what's that? Oh, we could just make a clickable link to it? Oh yeah, that's much better. Essentially, the theory proposes that the sentience is harvested through human memories. It starts in prehistoric times with the good dinosaur when the meteor misses Earth and creates a quantum realm-like alternate reality. Then we see it evolve through the ages, from dinosaurs to animals to toys to monsters to cars to robots. There's also the overarching presence of the By and Large Corporation, which many viewers believe to be the cause of all this detrimental sentience harvesting. We're talking widespread subliminal brainwashing, folks, and you thought this was just a silly fantasy tale about some talking dolls. So it's safe to say that the toys couldn't exist without humans. There's enough evidence to at least make that claim. Essentially, the humans act as batteries, and the more the toys are around them, and more importantly remembered by them, the more life they have. Without humans, the toys couldn't come to life, and the less human interaction a toy gets, the worse off they are. That means that toys only exist to make humans happy? Oh lord, that's dark. Individually, each toy has a unique personality and original thoughts, but collectively, all they know is to fulfill the duty of a toy, which is to make their owner happy. It's no wonder these toys feel such an intense attraction to their owner. That's the most unhealthy relationship since whoever Taylor Swift is dating now. Or maybe there's another explanation. Maybe the toys aren't aware that they need humans to survive, and the explanation is a bit darker. If you ask me, this has all the makings of textbook Stockholm Syndrome. For those unfamiliar, that's the name for when someone being held captive falls in love with their captor. You don't want to catch that one. Or maybe there's another psychological issue here. The toys literally get sick when their humans aren't around. That could be the sign of some pretty intense abandonment issues. So then how long can a toy last without a human counterpart? Remember Wheezy? Poor little guy slowly withering away because he's been forgotten by his human? And some toys don't just fade away, they go bad instead. Perfect example is the toys in the antique shop in the movie's latest trailer. Those toys aren't losing life so much as they're turning rotten. So what differentiates the two? Are certain toys more predisposed for negative behavior? Does it depend on the type of toy? Seriously, Pixar, you are the bane of my existence. To take it a step further, think about the little aliens in that claw machine. Those guys weren't quite sentient enough to reach full intelligence because they didn't belong to any human. So their sole purpose in life was to be selected as a prize. Imagine that's your entire reason for existing, hoping one day that a giant metal claw comes down from the heavens and selects you so that you can live out the rest of your days in some bratty kid's backpack. Or maybe you'll be met with a different fate and get the fortunately quick release of being a dog's chew toy. Oh dear lord, that's a whole whole other Pandora's box. What the heck even categorizes a toy? Imagine being a dog's chew toy and having to quietly pretend you aren't experiencing every excruciating moment? That sounds like a literal existential nightmare. There are no parameters set on what constitutes a toy, especially now with the introduction of gosh darn plastic cutlery added to the mix. With the addition of Forky, we're left wondering if anything at all can be brought to life so long as it's given some googly eyes. Can the same thing happen to a cup of coffee? A shoe? A building? Food? Just take RC for a prime example. He's a remote control car which the other toys are somehow able to control, yet because of his face he's able to speak and think. Is he sentient or not? Do his mechanical controls override his brain? That's a terrifying thought. Also, 2 eyes and a mouth can't possibly be the extent of the criteria in order for a toy to come to life. I don't accept that. If that's the case, then literally anything could come to life. We may as well have tree people walking around. Alright, well, that actually sounds pretty cool. If you take a closer look at the trailer for Toy Story 4, it appears as though, due to his poor craftsmanship, our friend Forky is in constant physical pain and living a life of torment. So, they feel pain, I guess? Well, that's a real bummer. We already know that they fear death. In one scene, we see a cat rip apart a toy as other toys look on and gawk at all the carnage. One toy even remarks, "Is that what our insides look like?" when seeing all the fluffy stuff that the cat removes. If they don't have actual organs or real pain receptors, then how can this be possible? Where's the line drawn here? We know that Mr. Potato Head loses parts of his body all the time and doesn't seem to feel it, but maybe it's simply because it's what he's built to do. If he were to crack his shell, something that he wasn't manufactured to do, then it's safe to assume that that would be excruciating. The straw that really breaks the toy camel's back for me is in the newest trailer. A toy has a freaking panic attack. Are you kidding me? They have anxiety now too? I can't. You're telling me that these things not only come to life, talk, communicate, and have thoughts and feelings, but they're also fearful of death and have full-blown panic attacks? They're supposed to be toys. And if they're that coherent and alive, then why do they hide the fact that they're that coherent and alive? How do they even know to be so secretive? It's never explained why they can't let any of the humans know, or how they magically come to life with the already ingrained knowledge that nobody could know the truth. For crying out loud, the original Toy Story movie is literally about Buzz Lightyear not believing that he's, in fact, a toy. If he doesn't think that he's a toy, then why on earth does he freeze up like one every time there's a human present? Riddle me that one, Pixar. So, where have we gotten other than a bunch of angry rambling? We know that toys come to life because of humans. We know that toys live to serve their human masters. We know that toys can feel pain, sadness, abandonment, and fear. We also know that pretty much anything with a face can be classified as a toy and given life. Okay, so with that in mind, can this logic be applied to other things? Think about it. If a child plays a video game, for example, and genuinely believes that the character they're controlling is real, does said computer-animated AI gain sentience? I mean, that's kind of exactly what Wreck-It Ralph is about, isn't it? It's a video game character with regular human sentience who decides to break away from his villain role in the game and think for himself. Perhaps there's a correlation here. Maybe Ralph's sentience was a result of a kid playing an arcade game that he's a part of. The Pixar logic of humans acting as batteries and giving life to things works perfectly here. So that would mean that when Andy puts down Woody and Buzz and goes and decides to play some GTA for a bit, the characters in the game develop sentience as well. Just running around, carjacking people with a grenade launcher, fully aware of what they're doing. That's lovely. Look, I could go on and on with plot holes and agonizing questions, but I think the most important question here is the first one. Why do toys come to life? We've covered who, what, where, when, and how, but why is the real doozy. Much like our own existence, there's no clear-cut reasoning for why these living toys exist. Here's my theory. It's a curse. Now, I'm sorry to be such a downer, but it makes sense. Imagine having the ability to learn, grow, and evolve mentally, but never change physically. Also, there's no set lifespan. There's no such thing as growing up or getting old. It's safe to assume that as long as these toys get life from their humans, they're eternal. Perhaps these are former people being cursed somehow, or perhaps it's a tad sweeter than that, and these are former loved ones being reincarnated to fulfill some sort of purpose. Or maybe it's just purgatory, and we sit there and chew on our popcorn and smile at the funny toys while they exist in a constant flux of torment and confusion. Who's to say, really? Well, I guess I just did, so me. What are your thoughts on how and why the toys come to life in Toy Story? I'd love to hear some different takes, preferably some happier and more upbeat ones if possible. Leave a comment in the section below and let us know your theories on the subject. Before you go, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to Behind the Screen to stay up to date on all our latest and greatest releases. Bye!